what we were just talking about.
Can you hear me?
Thank God, right? All right, well, I'm going to call the meeting of the Design Review Committee meeting of November 12th, 2024 to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag and to the republic. All right. Is there any public that wants to say anything on the public forum section? Then we will move to item number 4, the consent agenda. We have the Design Review Committee minutes of October 15th. You can vote on it. You can vote on it. I know you can't verify, but you can still vote on it. Yeah. Mike, do you want to make a motion? Approve the consent calendar. That's fine. John, you'll second it? You can. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries 3-0. Moving on to the big item. 5A is approve a design clearance with conditions for a 70-foot monopole wireless telecommunications facility. Erin, you want to introduce this?
Yes, so the applicant is requesting, oh, are they on, is there someone online?
I think so.
Okay, I think the applicants are online.
Great.
So they're requesting a 70-foot monopole pine telecommunications facility, so like a cell phone tower at 130 Lincoln Avenue. The plans that were included show a 70-foot structure with a 10-foot lightning rod on top that has since been reduced down to 70 overall feet, which was one of the conditions of approval that I had recommended. They just did not submit that until after the packet had been produced. So
Okay.
the telecommunications facilities are allowed within the commercial zoning district, which is a C2 zoning district, with a maximum height of 70 feet. So I believe the maximum height in that zoning district is 30 feet, and it allows these facilities to be, 40 feet, and allows it to be 30 feet over. So the maximum is 70, and that's what they're at. The design standards don't have anything specifically about these types of facilities in there, but our municipal code does have additional design standards in there. So they are what the commission or committee should be considering is it in a location where topography, vegetation, and other natural features provide the greatest amount of screening on existing structures that lend themselves to tower-mounted equipment, like a water tower, or within an industrial area, which is existing structures provide a visual buffer from adjacent areas. So that is what should be considered when selecting a site. Again, preference should be given to co-location, and that the equipment and supporting structures should be neutral, non-glossy in color, earth tones. A wireless equipment should be underground, and the monopole towers should be given preference over lattice towers. So those are what are laid out in the municipal code as the design criteria for telecommunications facilities. So,
And I think when that was added to the municipal code, that was the design of monopines or monopole palm trees or whatever weren't really a thing yet.
yeah.
I mean, they were just coming on.
Yeah.
So we do have 2 people online. I'm not sure which is the applicant.
Let me see.
I
Nick is the applicant.
Okay, Nicholas can talk, I believe. If you'd like.
Yeah, I'm also dialed in via phone because the audio is a little bit quiet on the computer.
Can you mute the microphone on one of your devices because you're getting feedback, please? Okay, try that again, please. You need to unmute one of those.
I can,
There we go.
can you unmute or would you like me to unmute you?
Which would you like me to speak on, the phone or the computer?
If you can maybe hang up one of them. I think we're getting feedback.
All right, you want to try again?
He's still connected twice.
Hi, I'd like to speak over the phone and mute the computer.
Yeah, so what's happening is we're getting major feedback. So one of them isn't muted on your end.
Try it now.
Try on your phone now. And unmute.
How
You're
about now?
unmuted on. Go, say again.
Can you hear me?
Perfect, much better.
Okay, sorry about all those technical issues. The sound over the Zoom was really faint, so I had to dial in via my phone, and then I wanted to keep the screen going so I could see what's happening, so I could see what you guys were seeing. But if that's not going to work, then I can just answer questions via phone. So anyways, my name is Nicholas Vota, and I represent Vertical Bridge, and I'm here to answer any design questions or any technical questions about the proposed facility.
Great, thank you. And I'll make sure that everyone's speaking into their microphone so that you can hear us.
Thank you.
Committee members, do you have any questions or comments or? Always. Go ahead, John, but grab your microphone.
So I just have a couple questions. In your application, I guess it was clarified that it's not a 70-foot tower with a 10-foot antenna. It's a 60-foot tower with a 10-foot lightning rod antenna. Is that true?
So we actually had the drawings updated. The new drawings went over to the consultant that you guys have retained. The overall structure height of the proposed facility will be 70 feet. The lightning rod will be 5 feet tall, but the overall structure height inclusive to the lightning rod will not exceed 70 feet.
So your canopy item is 65 feet and a 5-foot lightning rod.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. This is a design review committee versus the planning commission, which approves and reviews for usage. And I accept the usage is compatible with the zoning. But I'm curious why you've decided to do a monopine instead of just a straight tower, or is there even a third option? That's my first question. And the second question, have you exhausted this is for Verizon, right? The company Verizon with leases to other people. Have you exhausted the other options within this range to improve coverage?
So yes, we've exhausted all. I've got a search area that actually has 2 jurisdictions in it: the city of Sutter Creek and Amador County. The overall coverage objective is for the dead spot that actually, I think it's Main Street or Sutter Hill Road, where the historical area is. There's really terrible coverage there. Phones just turned to bricks, but in our search for sites, we looked at all possible co-location opportunities, which there were none. And then we evaluated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 different properties. And they were unfortunately either disqualified because of the coverage objective, the terrain, which also goes to coverage objective, or zoning. So where the zoning code actually prohibited wireless as a use in that specific zone district. As to the carrier, the vertical bridge, this is a build-to-suit project entitled and constructed by Vertical Bridge, but the tenant and operator of the site will be T-Mobile. And the,
It's in the-
yeah, so, and then you also asked as to why it's not a blank pole or just a standard monopole. If we were to propose that kind of a design, we would be limited to the zone district's overall height restriction, which I believe is 30 feet. And by stealthing the tower, that's a term that's used in this industry, and making it look like a faux tree or making it look like a tree, we're able to obtain an additional 40 feet in height, which meets our coverage objective. If we weren't able to obtain this height, we would not be able to develop this tower.
And I'm looking at the background, you're defining that on this monopine, you're going to be having 10 8-foot antennas, so those are actually horizontal extensions, 6 RRUs, which I really don't know what that is, and a single 2-foot microwave and 1 GPS antenna. So that's the number of items you're going to reach out from off of this structure, right?
So if you're looking at the zoning drawings that were included with our application package, page A3 will depict the antenna plan.
Which
The
one?
antenna plan does call out for 10 panel antennas to be arrayed in 3 different sectors with a 2-foot microwave, and that's for fiber offload. The RRUs are remote radio units, which take the signal from the antennas and transfer it or translate it to the base station computers. And then that signal or those ones and zeros are then fed back into the fiber network.
Okay, that's what's on our page 21 of the app of the document under antenna plan. Is that right? Your document A3.
Yeah, that would be the A3 page of the drawing. So if you look at the bottom right-hand corner of that page, that's how I'm referring to this specific page.
Okay, so I can visualize how this tower has an extended set of, we'll call them branches, for lack of a better term, that will have
Yes, sir. There will be faux branching, and we could provide a branching detail to the planning department or the planning consultant here. But the branches will be thick enough so that the antennas can't be viewed from the street without actually noticing or knowing what's there. You have to make an effort with your eyes to actually see it. We've submitted several different photo simulations. If you look on your agenda packet, starting on page 23, going through page 26, there are different viewing reference points, and those reference points are how you would see the tower from that place where you would be standing in the reference point if you were actually there.
I see those, I have seen those, even though they're black and white. It's nice to see them in color. And I compliment you on providing those to give a reference. And then based upon that, I suspect that from a GPS standpoint, these proposals.
I have these available in
Are
color.
you-
I could put these in an email to you right now, sir, if you wanted to see them.
No, I'm fine. I'm looking at it right now perfectly. So it projects itself a little higher than it's going to actually be based upon your modifications to the application, correct?
No, the structure height in aggregate will be 70 feet tall and will not exceed 70 feet.
Yeah, no, but
We've
showing
also,
on the photo simulations you have, your tree is 70 feet tall and it will only, you're proposing it now at 65 feet. So
Very good.
he was asking if it's going to be smaller than what's shown there. Yes.
Yes, the answer would be yes.
so the original lightning rod that the tree will look the same. So the lightning rod has to be concealed within what's called the crown of the monopines. The crown would be the top, roughly about 10%, because if we didn't put a crown on there, so our antennas would actually be a little bit lower, the tower would look really not well. In some cases, we're forced to do that, but here we don't need to do that, so we're able to put a nice flush or fluffy or full crowns, to maximize the concealment of the antennas.
Okay. So I'm going to stop talking after this one comment. When we get to the moving this forward, I'm going to suggest that the views you have selected are obviously in your favor. And the key view that I think is most important is on our gateway approach to the city from the north. There's a street called Rab. And if you were to take Google Earth and do a viewing from the Highway 49 near Rab on the northern side as we approach the city, that location one is the one I think you need to provide to the Planning Commission for a better, yes. The city manager is now getting to a Google Earth viewing area a little north on 49 that actually is the most dominant view that we will see. Okay. And I would suggest that for the.
So I'm looking at 49 is Rab north of Sutter Creek.
It's still in Sutter Creek, but it's past the firehouse, north of the firehouse. That view that.
It's on Old 49, not the bypass, but Old 49 and Rab.
Yeah. The view that the city manager has on the screen is
You can't
almost
see the screen.
perfect.
It's only on his phone though, so sorry about that.
Oh, that's all right. But that's the view that will be the most dominant to
But
the
you're
city,
not-
in my opinion.
But you're really not coming in from that point. I mean, you're pushed off to the side in front of another building. You're not using the axis that you would actually be probably down effectively. It seems like if you were able to pull that view over, take a new shot of it from the street,
Yes.
you'd be able to get a better idea of whether or not the tree is going to be
Okay.
hidden by that building or not.
The-
And it probably is.
This is, hey, how's this one?
It's better.
That's
Better.
pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's better because you come up to the stop sign, so at least you're close by to.
Can you see this illustration at all?
No,
Oh, he can't.
I don't,
Never mind.
I don't think he can because he's on.
We're happy to provide another photo simulation for the planning commission. That's absolutely no problem. If your planning consultant would email me a latitude and longitude in decimal format, I'll make sure that it's going to work on Google Earth, and then we'll get you an additional sim. That's no problem.
I think that'd be useful. I'm done talking.
Okay. Do you have any questions, Mike?
Do I have any questions? No, I agree. I think other views coming from that corridor, from the entry corridor would be good. Maybe we'll get lucky and there's some, I can't tell whether there's any topographical mounds or anything that would help hide the trees, but right
Yeah.
now I don't see much except for the building itself. The building's not over 15 feet tall, so it's not going to hide a 7-foot tree. And either did the trees that I did see around the
No.
bigger pines or any other, they were not.
It'll definitely stand out. I mean, just it's your height that's going to stand out. It's whether.
I want to clarify go back to the structure height here for a little bit of clarification. If you're looking at the A4 page of the zoning drawings that were submitted. So the overall structure height, including that crown of the monopole or the monopine, there was a 10-foot lightning rod that was protruding 5 feet above the 70-foot height crown. And so basically what's happening is we're not going to install a 10-foot lightning rod. We're going to install a 5-foot. So it will remain inside of the tree canopy or the tree crown and won't protrude beyond 70 feet in structure height. The pole itself will not be reducing.
Yeah, I do. We're on sheet A4, and that's.
Yeah, so if you look at the west elevation on sheet A4, there
70
is a call out that says 70 feet. It's text is vertical. It's the furthest left text on the west elevation.
Got it, got it.
So you see where, if you follow the line up all the way to the top and then over to the right, you'll see that the top of the tree is 70 feet tall, and then the lightning rod exceeds beyond that 70 foot. We're just installing a shorter lightning rod. The tree itself will not be reduced in height.
Okay, so it's a 70-foot tree and a 5-foot lightning rod.
Yes, but the lightning rod and the lightning rod will be within the crown of the tree
Oh,
Fully?
below the
and will
70
not,
Okay.
yes, sir.
Okay. I can figure that out. As an architect. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Nope.
What do you want to do?
Well,
What's the pleasure?
I don't want to make the motion. In general, I would hope you could have found an alternative.
Would you have rather?
When you say alternative, what do you mean specifically alternative?
That there were other resources of, that put another antenna so visible coming in on our north gateway from the city. Item number one. But in terms of what you have here, I guess it's sort of acceptable. I'm not a big fan of monopines because essentially we're in an oak woodland area of the foothills, and pines are not our primary tree. However, I've never seen in California any antenna array that tried to replicate an oak scenario. So it's impossible, or at least it's never been done before. Oak woodlands, they're all monopines, but they all look like they don't belong there. So if you can't, but you're staying within a 70-foot canopy. I'm hoping the Planning Commission can look at that to see if there's any alternatives. And other than that, I don't have any comments.
So what is the next step that we need to do?
Well, they're looking for design clearance, and this does go to the planning commission, right, for a use permit?
Yes, the next step for this will be outside agencies and other departments within the city will review, and then it would go to planning commission next month.
So, but to do that, it needs design clearance
Yes.
from us.
So I wanted to make sure the DRC was comfortable with the design or the design with conditions before we put it
Well, it
to
doesn't
next
seem like
steps.
we have a lot of choices. All 18 do not meet the requirements that they looked at. They're saying that they can't get adequate coverage without having a thicker mat of wires, as far as I can tell, or the use for that. But I don't see, I don't see where the choice. So I guess I can just say we think they.
The DRC's responsibility is the appearance of it. The planning commission will be the one that will issue the conditional use permit, which is required for this. So they will also review those requirements. And we also, there is, I believe it's federal regulation that puts a timeline on how long we have to review
I read that.
and go through all this. I think it's 180 days from when they submit to when they get a building permit. So something to just,
I think it was 150.
150, okay. So again, not trying to rush anyone to make a decision. It's just something we need to think about as we move forward.
It's just too bad there weren't a site that you looked at that was further away from the corridor that approaches from our northern gateway.
The problem is that when you get further away from the corridor, the intensity of the zoning changes.
Yeah.
So it's allowed in the commercial and the industrial.
Yeah.
And then when you get further away,
Residential.
you're in residential or agriculture or something
Yeah.
that's less dense, and it's less likely to be allowed in. So, which is why I think attaching it to zoning can sometimes be problematic.
And the other commercial industrial zones up on the highway, probably get coverage from those two other towers in Martell and Amador
Right.
City.
Well, also there's unfortunately severe zoning restrictions imposed in the county jurisdiction. All of the agricultural land that abuts or surrounds Sutter Creek is zoning prohibited due to an agricultural exclusive overlay. And I've actually had several conversations with Amador County Planning, to see if there was some type of variance, because we did want to keep it away from your guys' historic corridor, but unfortunately, it's zoning prohibited in those areas. And those specific properties were cited in our alternative sites analysis.
So Nicholas, are there other tree designs available?
There are, I don't typically recommend them, just because it reduces the performance of the site, and it changes what can be, these projects are these types of cell phone towers. It's about weight and how much weight can the tower handle and how much wind sail is up in the air. So when you put antennas 70 feet high in the air, it's a giant wind sail. And when you go to a design that, let's use a mono eucalyptus as an example, or a mono, there's a different type of tree that has 3 or 4 different branches that are vertical, and the antennas are distributed out and not on a single pole. You run into structural issues, and when you run into structural issues, you can't put the equipment that's going to provide good service to the customers in the area, and the site just doesn't perform well. This specific site is filling a huge gap in coverage for Sutter Creek, and it's also eventually will become an AT&T FirstNet site, and it'll provide E911 services to the mobile devices in this area.
I know this isn't a design question, but we've had some failures with AT&T with their generator dying when there was a power outage for a couple days.
So these sites will not have a generator on site. Because it is involved in E911. Each carrier that co-locates here is required to put in 6 hours of battery backup. And should power not be restored in that amount of time, a generator will be brought out.
Okay. That was just a curiosity. Sorry. I've also seen water tower designs. There's a couple of those.
Yeah, a water tower is a good stealth design, but it is not a co-locatable site. So when you put a carrier chooses to go with a water tank design, no other carrier can come onto that. It's infeasible. The whole site would have to be ripped down and reconstructed. And then eventually the water tank gets taller and taller and taller, and maybe not the legs of that hold up the antenna stealthing part of it, but the center part where potentially the water would be stored, even though this is a fake water tower. And then if you do get 3 carriers or 2 carriers in there, it doesn't look proportional. It doesn't look convincing.
I can
ugly,
spot those
in my
right
opinion.
away.
So I understand you said the other tree types are less desirable, but again, what other tree types are there?
Eucalyptus was one.
There's a broadleaf, which is the one that has the several different arms for the antennas, which probably would not be able to accommodate, especially at 70 feet. There's no way, with a 70-foot height limit, there's no way it could end up accommodating more than 2 carriers. There's also a mono eucalyptus, and that unfortunately is the same scenario. The pine here, if you don't want to have a whole bunch of cell sites all over Sutter Creek or around Sutter Creek, you'll want to build a site that's co-locatable and that can accommodate the 3 largest carriers and perform good service for the people in the area.
Got it. Okay, into the
Sorry that
mic,
we don't
please.
have a full quorum here of all DRC members.
We have a quorum.
I mean, a full cadre, because I'm sure the other two would have some good insights. That being said, I'm willing to make a motion to forward this project to the Planning Commission for their review and approval, with the caveat that the applicant provide well, not a storyboard, but an illustration of what this tower will look like from the north gateway to the city, from at RAB or somewhere near 49 at that element. And that there is no logical way to meet the city's criteria of item number 3, but that the project does in fact meet items 1 and 2 and 4 of the not design standards, but the city's ordinance standards.
Can you repeat those numbers?
Items 1, 2, and 4, it seems to comply with. Item 3, I don't see any way it can comply with.
Can you please explain item number 3?
The locations where topography, vegetation, and other natural features provide the greatest amount of screening.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's possible.
From a zoning perspective, this is the least intrusive means and location. There's other environmental concerns in this area where we previously had a site, I believe it was at 175 Sutter Hill Road, and it was very well screened by vegetation, but unfortunately there are pollutants in the soil that we aren't able
I
to
figured that's why you didn't use
construct
Campbell's.
without. Yeah, I believe there was arsenic in the soils, and we
Yeah,
can't
among other
construct
things.
that without potentially spreading those pollutants onto other people's property, which is
Yeah,
not something we want to do.
DTSC wouldn't like that.
Yeah. Also, when we do talk screening about trees, if trees are in front of the antennas signal can't necessarily penetrate as effectively through the trees. So these sites, think of them like floor lamps in a dark room. When you put something in front of a floor lamp, it creates a shadow. And whenever there's a shadow, there's no service, which is the terrain issue that we have in this area.
I hope you're not implying that you would prefer the property owners remove the landscape that exists currently.
No, sir. The antennas they're proposed at a height tall enough where they would propagate signal above the existing landscaping.
All right. Thank you. We have a motion by Committee Member Otto. Do I have a second?
Yes.
I have a second. And Mike? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Thanks for putting up with our questions.
Happy to do so. And if anybody has any additional questions after this meeting, I can be reached via email. Aaron Ventura, the City of Sutter Creek's planning consultant, can forward those to me.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to item 5B, which is design clearance for the construction of fences at 40 Broad Street. Curiosity. I didn't know that fences were subject to the design review. I know they're in there, but that
It's-
doesn't require a building permit.
So anything within the historic district, whether building permit or not, requires design clearance. Yes, I also was like, oh, okay. I mean,
Okay.
so,
Okay,
Well, we just had a demolition permit.
yes, and
Yeah.
that application,
Sorry.
the lot split has been, they abandoned that application. So this is just a new owner. And so they are putting in 3 different types of fences on the lots. And they all meet the fence height
Criteria.
requirements. So you are just are looking at materials.
If you call up page 37, unless I got a strange copy, I don't know which is fence B and which is fence C. maybe they were color coded, but this
because
is
they were
black and
color
white.
coded on.
I don't have
ours.
page numbers, so. what-
I-
So that fence C is in the front.
Well,
Front,
So C,
front
right?
C, here, go
There's-
down more, Tom. Oh, no, it's
A
not.
is
It's the
clear.
different application. So fence C
can you go to page 37? That might be
kind of
easier.
divides.
There you go.
There
I
we
don't-
go.
Oh, this one.
Okay. The hash one is A, got that. It's
Yes.
a 6-foot fence.
So then that will step up, that fence. But now I'm confused.
And there's an illustration
yes.
for that. So which one is B and C?
C is the picket fence. Will be a white picket fence. That's 3 feet.
If
But
you
where
take a
is it?
cursor, maybe I can see it.
It's not the red.
Here,
Yeah, and the other side.
this is B,
That is C. No, the red is B.
this is B.
The red is B?
And there's
Mhm.
two portions of C. See, right there, and then the little one right there.
So the C is to meet the step down part when you're encroaching into the front or side yard setback, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So there's 2 Cs. Closer to the
Street.
frontage roads.
Yeah, because they're into the setback.
Yep.
Because the front yard setback
It's on Broad.
is on Broad and the side yard, street
They
side
have
yard.
2 street side yards.
Yeah,
Broadway and Eureka.
yeah.
But there's actually a house on Eureka. That's the Anderson.
Yes. there's a
Yeah,
house on
But
Eureka.
it's fronts Broad.
Correct.
Yep.
And that's 40.
Where's
And these are wood or vinyl? I didn't read, I didn't,
wood?
they probably said and I missed
Redwood.
it.
They said
Yeah.
redwood.
Okay,
Yeah.
then that's fine.
I think they did a nice job personally of
Yeah.
meeting the requirements
Yeah.
and staying within, you know,
Mhm.
the guidelines.
And I don't have any, I'm not sure why the cost of putting in a 12-inch high stem wall to support these fences, but I don't see that it causes, I mean, it could be if the fences come down, it's a tripping hazard for the public, but, or anybody who visits the property. But, and otherwise, it makes for a more maintainable fence. So I don't have any problem. The way it was written, I assume it's 6-inch wide by 12-inch high stem wall. Doesn't say what the height is, but I assume it's 12-inch high. I would
So
move
what you-
to, oh, sorry, more cut discussion.
Any more discussion? Any more questions or comments?
I'd move to approve this as submitted with the clarifications of identification as being within the purview of the design standards, have it move forward for permit.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Uh,
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Okay. And with that, we will go to item 6, adjournment. It is 5:41.
Move to adjourn and I can get to my 5:30 dinner.
You're only 11 minutes late.
My food won't have cleared off.